getting shot from? Get out of here. Get out of here. Ooh, what is this? Oh, I don't need your ammo, boy. Oh, it's at him. I was trying to scare him, but I forgot this isn't real life. The only thing I hate about the live on this is that freaking the screen also shares like it does on the PS4. The only thing I hate about the live on this is that freaking the screen also shares. Like, let's see, how do I go to settings? And the delay, but it's like, you know how it gives you that right thing on the on-air shit? Yeah, I wish let's see, broadcast settings. What's up? Well, fuck it. Oh, I got banned from YouTube. I said fuck it. I can't monetize now. God damn it. Oh, I said god damn it. It's religiously insensitive. I got banned. I can't monetize. Oh, there's a weapon in the screen. It's violence. I can't monetize now. Alright. I gotta actually start getting kills now. Let's see. Yep. Like last time when you started spectating me and shit, I just started getting headshot after headshot and shit. Ooh, die. Die. Yes! You're dead to me. Oh, he had a friend, and his friend killed me. But I killed this guy. Alright. Sputnik. I am deeply depressed. Oh no, don't shoot me. No, don't shoot me. Kill me. Right? I saw that, fool. Yes! Yes! Another one. Another one. I need to heal myself. Where is he? Oh my god. That's pretty funny though. Oh, I just died again. I died it again. Why'd I spawn at the water tank? There's like nobody here. Let's see. Ooh, I think I see one across this wall. No! No! Shovel you. Shovel. I'm gonna start digging your grave. I'm gonna start digging your grave. Yep. He killed me too. I was digging your grave. Why does the medic have crutches though? Nobody would have ever carried crutches. No, but like in actual battle, like I don't think anybody would have. Oh no, oh no, no, no. Oh no, but still, nobody ran it. Like for example, if you got hurt in battle, just drag your ass out. That's all they did. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, he hatcheted me. Oh, I hatcheted him too. Yeah, cause I got the assist. Dude on the left. Alright, I'm gonna go give this guy a visit. Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, what? The grenade only left him at 26. They're like, well, shoot him. If you're marking him, shoot him. You can't mark with a handgun for some reason. Ooh, who shot me? I do not appreciate that. I'm getting gassed. I'm getting gassed. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I gotta get this kill. Oh no! It ended right before I could. I let you die, Vincent. Five tips on how to grow your YouTube channel in 2017. Make good. Yeah. How's that my name? Richard needs Jesus. Or school, yeah. But then again, not too long ago, I just said religiously insensitive. So, I kind of sounded dumb out there. Vlog. Why do glue labels warn not to sniff? Because you'll get fucked up. You get high as fuck. And they don't want you to enjoy your life, so they don't want you to get high. That's the key. It's like no pun intended. It's the key. It is the kilo. Round starts. We're enough players already. I'm ready. I'm enough. That's all we need. United States of America. Why? I'm ready. Center right now. Damn, they're already on top. Oh, I got shot from the center. Alright. Cool. I'm sorry, but I can't. Whoa, shotgun. Look at me. Left by the stairs. Dang, Vincent, you're already dead. I think I want to quit doing melee. Oh no. Oh, I just lagged. I lagged it. That's what I'm trying to. Oh no. They've seen me. Oh, what? The sawtooth knife? He one-shotted me. Cool. No, stop shooting me. I'm zigzagging. They told me that would work. Zombieland told me it would work. There's one coming from behind you. They should let you put a spawn beacon like they do in the other games. Ooh, I like that one. I pressed R2 instead of R1, and I shot him instead of marking him, and I killed him. Come on. Oh, that was my kill, dude. Here, let me revive the enemy team so I can kill. I'm full health. Ooh. Oh, it's a sentry. I could have still killed them with a shovel, right? Yeah. Oh, I guess there's more. That's why. Simone. You know who that is? Simone. Oh no, I'm getting shot from the behind. Well, use them, boy. Break the enemy lines. Break.
The First World War affected all who lived through it to a great extent, but perhaps it was even greater for those who would become leaders in the post-war world, as their actions had such a strong effect on their nations and on the Second World War. One such man was Benito Mussolini.
Benito. There's a tripwire.
I'm Indy Naidoo. Welcome to our Great War Bio series, Who Did What in World War I, today featuring Benito Mussolini. Benito Andrea Amilcare Mussolini was born July 29, 1883. He was named Benito after Mexican politician and reformer Benito Juarez, Andrea after the founder of the Socialist Party in the Romagna region, and Amilcare after an Italian patriot killed during the Paris Commune. His father was a blacksmith and his mother an elementary school teacher. Now, his father was active in left-wing politics and rabidly anti-clerical, while his mother was a devout Catholic. His father founded the local chapter of the Socialist Party and was elected to the city council. He was busy with worker and farm labor movements, but Benito's parents' contrasting views and his father's political activities were a big strain and a source of humiliation at school. Students were seated at the dining hall according to the fees their parents paid, and Benito sat at the lowest table. Later in life, he would often recall bread crawling with ants. As a student, he was known as never the person provoked, always the one provoking. He was also known for his frequent use of knives. After his education, he became an elementary school teacher, but an affair with a woman whose husband was in the army caused him to emigrate to Switzerland in 1902. His first purchase there was a knife, and he would eventually be expelled from Geneva Canton for using knives.
Geneva Canton.
He took up fencing and dueling, which only stopped when he became prime minister.
You can't see me.
Isn't really important, but I thought it was kind
Oh,
of
stop. You can't see me.
Mussolini in Switzerland. He became a labor agitator and was arrested in 1903.
Where'd he go? I can't see him now.
Italy and Switzerland.
You can't see me.
For obligatory Italian military service, he did not go, and he was sentenced for desertion in absentia. He eventually got an amnesty and returned to Italy, but only served 2 of 20 months in the army because of his mother's death. This time, he was writing articles for periodicals such as The Worker's Future and Socialist Avant-Garde, and even articles for the proletariat that appeared in the United States. He was described in this period as a revolutionary socialist with deep anarchic roots and a highly developed affinity for revolutionary labor unionism. He taught school for a few years before moving to Trent in 1909, where he became secretary of the local Socialist Party and ran his newspaper. Trent was in Austria-Hungary at the time, and he had run-ins with the Imperial Police. He returned to Italy, and in September 1911, a general strike was called.
No!
Protests and violence, and Mussolini was arrested and spent 6 months in prison.
Sadness.
Now, around this time, there was a split in the Socialist Party.
I am deeply depressed.
For the first time, invited
I
to
need
join the
help.
selection for prime minister. Mussolini and the revolutionary socialists thought this was a capitulation to the
Gosh,
bourgeoisie.
oh my.
His section left the party and expelled all reformist socialists.
No.
He soon moved to Milan to edit the socialist paper Avanti. That's where he was when the war broke out.
I should have just killed them.
Italy's descent into war so far, so I'm not going to do it here. But Mussolini called for neutrality. Socialism saw itself as an international movement loyal only to the workers,
Dodge
not
the
national
bullets.
boundaries. Italy was, at the outbreak of the war, allied with Austria-Hungary and Germany, but Mussolini wrote much about absolute neutrality and the many reasons he felt it was necessary. But there was a struggle between neutralists and interventionists, and with time, Mussolini began to vacillate on neutrality. Socialist parties in other belligerent
Cover shot.
nations supported their
Oh,
country's
no.
war effort. Mussolini still called for neutrality in Avanti, but he was heard expressing sympathy for France privately and was publicly accused of being a Francophile. Critics called him two-faced. He said he had a private and a public self. So, in October 1914, there was a war of editorials between Mussolini and his critics. On October 8th, he wrote this: I am not a genius, but I am not an idiot either. And I am not ashamed to confess that my thoughts have gone back and forth, been filled with uncertainty and fears. Who in Italy has not struggled over this? By the end of the month, he promoted active neutrality over absolute neutrality, saying that this was a war of German aggression, and that a party that wants to be part of history cannot be limited by unchallenged dogma. Italian socialists, take note. Sometimes it happens that the letter kills the spirit. We will not save the letter of the party if it means killing the spirit of socialism. The first fasci, small groups that supported intervention, were soon formed based on a manifesto that said that workers should be on the side of France, the cradle of revolution.
I've gotten
and
0
Britain,
kills.
And the socialist revolution will follow the achievement
Oh no, I got like
self-determination.
1 kill, 2
Mussolini
kills.
was actually expelled
Is that
from
the best I can do with
Italian
melee?
Socialist Party in November, resigned from Avanti in late October, and founded a new paper, Il Popolo d'Italia. He
Il
began
Popolo
taking
d'Italia.
positions that were anything but socialist. And interventionist fasci did things like setting fire to socialist offices. The French government, through its agents, gave him 100,000 francs, and some members of the French Workers' Party had the specific mission of pushing Italy into the war against the Central Powers. His paper was also financed by industrialists who saw profit in the war, and in spring 1915, just when Italy was headed for war, it was acknowledged that his paper had done a great service to the French government. Italy joined the war in May. Mussolini was drafted, and on August 31st, joined the 11th Regiment of the Bersaglieri. I want to be clear here. By this point, Mussolini was a real celebrity, one of the most famous men in the country. Some issues of Avanti had a circulation of 100,000, and soldiers and officers often asked to meet him. He served in Monte Nero, Virsig, and Jaworcek, and wrote a war diary for his paper that was a mixture of ideology and reportage. In many ways, he echoed the thoughts of Italian Army Chief of Staff Luigi Cadorna. He thought morale and the bayonet were more important than modern firepower, and that the long list of dead soldiers was an indicator of determination and the right to great power status. He exalted Italian characteristics and tried to define what it meant to be an Italian. He was discharged in early 1917 after a grenade supposedly went off during training. There were no eyewitnesses to this, though, and he had an unusually long convalescence, a few months in hospital and then a year's leave. And historian Paul O'Brien says the leave was so long because of syphilis and its complications. However, strings were being pulled to get him back to work in Milan anyhow. Mussolini turned to fight the enemy within and the growing rejection of the war. He called for giving land to peasants that fought, and Fasci advocated for a post-war technocracy, where the men who returned from the war would be the new elite and run the nation. Britain was worried about Italian resolve to remain in the war. Mussolini said, "I'll get all the war wounded to break the heads of any pacifists who carry out protests in Milan." His paper began to get financing from the British Secret Service, and he provided anti-pacifist propaganda, mobilizing veterans and war wounded. His newspaper changed its slogan from Newspaper of the Socialists to Newspaper of Fighters and Producers, and the fascists were called to paralyze the efforts of neutralists. And the war ended with Italy on the winning side. But the war did not bring the technocracy and social change, and the industrialists didn't want to lose the benefit of the wartime economy. Italy was unsatisfied with the land it received post-war. And Fasci di Combattimento appeared, new fascist groups that grew out of the original interventionist ones. On March 23rd, 1919, the movement that brought them all together, the fascist movement, was formed. And after that, well, that's beyond the scope of this channel. This was just a brief. Adolf Hitler lacked leadership ability, or he was a cowardly soldier, or his personality and his ideology had their origins here, or he was an excellent soldier. I'm talking about things people have said about Adolf Hitler's time served in World War I, and they are many and conflicting. The simple fact is that Hitler was stationed at the front from nearly the beginning of the war until nearly the end of the war, and he himself called it the best time of his life. I'm Indy Nidell, and welcome to another Great War episode of Who Did What in World War I. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889 in Braunau am Inn in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His father, Alois Hitler, was a customs officer, and his mother, Clara Pölzl, was Alois' third wife. Hitler's father adopted the name of his stepfather, and it's still a mystery who Hitler's grandparents and ancestors were, though in his later years, Hitler spared no pains in designing an extensive pedigree for the public. Adolf grew up with his step-siblings Alois Jr. and Angela and his younger sister Paula. His father was transferred several times during Adolf's childhood, so the family moved as well, from Groß-Schönau to Passau and then to Linz. Adolf struggled in middle school in Linz, and a stubborn and defiant behavior marked his school days. Alois Hitler died when Adolf was only 14. Now, Hitler tried another boarding school, but his grades were still poor, and actually, he had to repeat 2 years of school in total, finally dropping out and returning to Linz in 1905. We're not entirely certain what young Adolf did in Linz. We know he posed as an educated artist while living off his half-orphan pension from his father's death, but it's not very specific. In 1907, he traveled to Vienna to apply for the Academy of Fine Art, but he failed the entrance exam and returned home. Though when his mother died in December of that year, he left Linz for good and moved to Vienna. Again, the following year, he failed the Academy's entrance exam. He lived off of his now full orphan's pension, though, without a permanent residence, and posed as an art student. A year before the war, in 1913, he settled abroad in Munich, Germany. He may have been trying to avoid the Austrian 14. A policeman took him into custody and brought him to the Austrian consulate. He was declared unfit for military service, though, at a medical exam in Salzburg, and he returned to Munich. Hitler later wrote that when the First World War broke out, he was so stunned by the enthusiasm of the German crowd's reaction to the public proclamation that he sank to his knees. He asked the following day if, even though he was a foreigner, he could enlist in the German army. The request was accepted, and on August 16th, he became a member of a Bavarian Reserve Regiment. 10 weeks of training followed. His regiment, called Regiment List, named after the commander, first saw action October 29, 1914, at the ongoing First Battle of Ypres. Now, this battle lasted for weeks and was a very bloody affair. Afterwards, in November, Hitler was promoted to corporal and was given an Iron Cross, though we don't know specifically why. It's quite likely that he won it for reliability, since he served mostly as a dispatch runner. Hitler strongly disapproved of the Christmas truce of 1914. The somewhat shy, ordinarily reserved soldier became a fanatic. Something like that cannot be an issue, he said, as German and British troops met in no man's land between the trenches and shook hands. Between March 1915 and September 1916, Hitler's regiment fought in the static warfare in the trenches of Formel. Now, they defended a front line about 2 kilometers long. After fighting in the Second Battle of Formel, Regiment List marched south and fought in the Battle of the Somme. Near Nebark, Hitler took shrapnel in his thigh. He would not return to active duty till March 1917. His regiment was stationed near Vimy, and during the summer at Ypres. In September, Hitler took a 2-week vacation in Berlin. As he returned, his regiment moved to Champagne. We're now in October 1917. Half a year later, in May 1918, Hitler gained a regimental diploma and a wound badge for his bravery. His regiment then fought in the Second Battle of the Marne. Actually, by this point, German victory did not seem unlikely. The two-front war was finally over, and Eastern troops were being moved west to mount new offensives. Still running dispatches, often under heavy fire, Hitler won another Iron Cross in August 1918, but the German offensives ground to a halt. On the 8th of August, the day German General Ludendorff called the Black Day of the German Army, the Allied powers counterattacked. At the end of August, Hitler was sent to Nuremberg for specialist training to become a telephone operator. He took a second vacation in the middle of September and spent his time in Berlin again. After he returned to the front lines, his regiment was defeated the night of October 14th, where an Allied gas attack left Hitler nearly blind in a field hospital. His sight began to return in November, but still not even enough to read a newspaper. He was crushed by the German defeat in the war and what he considered the infamous Treaty of Versailles. But a big thing was that he now lost the feeling of unity, of belonging he had during the war. He later spoke of his service as, quote, unforgettable, and the got to know him described him as quiet and serious, but also volatile. His biographies picture him as someone who never fully fit into the civil world and only found some sort of salvation in war. His life had been directionless, but he had gained respect and found a new home in his regiment. And since no job waited for him back home, remaining in the army almost suggested itself. Let's play it out. As Hitler hears about the German Revolution at the end of the war, he is indignant. He sees it as a betrayal of everything he believed in and fought for, and he searches for an explanation and people to blame. His racist and anti-Semitic mindset slowly becomes an ideology. Years later, he would state that he had blamed the Jews for the German defeat during World War I. Hitler stays in the army and leaves for Munich, and this is where we leave you, since what came next is not in our purview. But how do you feel the years at the front may have changed and shaped Hitler and his beliefs? What would his fate have been had he remained in Austria? Tell us in the comments. You can check out our episode. It was far from Europe, and yet Japan still helped a lot with the global Allied war effort. But what was going on in Japan itself, and what had been going on in the years leading up to the war? How did the war shape Japan? That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to a Great War special episode about Japan and the First World War. A civil war in Japan in 1867 resulted in the restoration of imperial rule the following year, which was the beginning of Japan's modern age. The feudal domains with which the people identified were abolished in 1871 to help begin to foster a national identity in the person of the young Meiji Emperor and the new government. Japan's modern military, the Imperial Japanese Army and Imperial Japanese Navy, IJA and IJN, really began in the 1870s. For the new Meiji state, it was vital that these forces be controlled by the emperor and by extension the new state, and not in any way beholden to any faction representing the old order. There was initially influence from samurai clans, but over a couple of decades that influence faded as a new national identity was formed. So the military was a cornerstone of the Meiji state and was even instrumental in physically protecting the government in the early days. The conscription law of 1873 brought in young men from age 20 and up for 3 years of service, though after the military's first overseas expedition to Taiwan in 1874, the next large-scale deployment was not until war with China in 1894. The new national government began a sweeping program of reforms, industrializing and developing the country's economic and military capabilities would hopefully ensure that Japan was independent and free of foreign influence. The Meiji Constitution of 1889, Asia's first, established a system of government that would last until 1945. The emperor shared sovereignty with a number of state organs. There was the Imperial Council, the cabinet, the Imperial Diet, a parliament with 2 houses, the judiciary, the Privy Council, and the military. These all had independence and rough equality, except the military reported to and was only answerable to the emperor. Within the cabinet, the ministers were also responsible to the emperor, so it was often tough for the prime minister to maintain cabinet unity. Establishing a parliament really changed the political landscape of Meiji Japan, because this created a new group of political rivals and contenders in the form of political parties to the Meiji elite, or Genro. Some Genro, such as Yamagata Aritomo, were opponents of political parties and saw monarchy as the best government for Japan. And while he was prime minister in the late 1890s, he passed reforms to limit the influence of political parties in the military and the bureaucracy. Now only active generals and admirals could serve as war or navy ministers, which gave the military a veto in government affairs. The 1890s actually was the coming-of-age decade for modern Japan. This was really when Japan began to transform from an agrarian to an industrial society. The architects of Meiji Japan wanted to achieve 2 more things: a powerful military and an empire. So this was also the decade when Japan began to project its power onto mainland Asia. First, Japan wanted to block any foreign power from dominating or annexing Korea, which lay just 100 miles across the Sea of Japan. That foreign power had been China for hundreds of years, and disagreements over Korea led to the war with China, which I mentioned, which was a resounding Japanese victory. It also resulted in a big wave of nationalism. Japanese celebration was cut short, though, by French, Russian, and German intervention, which reversed most of what Japan had imposed on China. This really highlighted Japanese diplomatic isolation and prompted the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs to write, "At present, Japan must keep calm and sit tight. During this time, the foundations of her national power must be consolidated, and we must watch and wait for the opportunity in the Orient that will surely come one day. When this day arrives, Japan will decide her own fate, and she will be able not only to put into place the powers who seek to meddle in her affairs, she will even be able, should this be necessary, to meddle in their affairs." Japanese military spending tripled by 1903. Japan had, by then, been part of the eight-nation alliance that responded to China's Boxer Rebellion and had provided the majority of the alliance forces. In 1902, the first Anglo-Japanese alliance was signed, which was a defensive alliance, with particular focus on Russian ambitions in Asia. The real test for the Japanese military was soon to follow, the Russo-Japanese War in 1904 and 5, a war that was fought mainly in Manchuria and a war that Japan won to much of the world's surprise. The IJA mobilized over 1 million men and took over 100,000 casualties in 18 months of war. The IJN delivered one of the biggest defeats of the war in the Battle of Tsushima Strait. Korea fell firmly into Japanese orbit and would be annexed in 1910, and the question of defense now revolved around Manchuria. An important military development I gotta mention here was, in 1907, the Aims of Imperial National Defense. This document was a compromise between the two branches of service that defined the cordon of sovereignty and the cordon of advantage. The former was, at its most basic, the home islands. The latter was the line of defense to protect the former. Now, this seems pretty rational, but it had a flaw. It did not account for the expansion of the empire. Once Korea was annexed, it was no longer an overseas territory like Taiwan, but part of Japan and part of the cordon of sovereignty. This moved the cordon of advantage from the Korean peninsula to Manchuria. And as the empire eventually expanded in Asia, the cordon of advantage did as well, pulling the military with it and bringing Japan into conflict with nations further and further from home. Anyhow, in 1912, the Anglo-Japanese alliance was renewed for another 10 years, and that same year, the Meiji Emperor passed away, triggering a few years of government instability. When the First World War broke out and Japan joined the Entente, the IJA and IJN worked together to take the German-administered territory of Qingdao. The 5,000 enemy troops there held out against 28,000 IJA troops for a few weeks before surrendering and becoming POWs. This was the only battle fought during the war by the IJA until the Siberian intervention of 1918. The IJN, in addition to transport and blockade duties, cooperated with the British Navy to destroy German raiders in the Pacific and occupy German Micronesia. They would eventually take over convoy protection and naval patrols in that part of the world from the British. In May 1917, the IJN was deployed to the Mediterranean to assist the Allies in convoy protection, anti-submarine warfare, and other operations, remaining committed there until the end of the war. The IJA was never sent to Europe because virtually no one in Japan was enthusiastic about a war of attrition halfway across the globe for little or no gain. The Mesopotamian front would have been more feasible, but the British had concerns over giving Japan too much influence there post-war. And of course, the IJA was not equipped for that climate anyhow. The IJA did send military observers to Europe, though, and they were heavily involved